feel a little crazy again. I think it's time I start to pack my things. The city life has really got me down. I'm ready to trade it in for any damn thing. I get this feeling that I can't explain. I start heading west down Highway 10. The age of 5 is in my rear view now. I'm starting to feel free again. Texas Hell Country, it's the only drug I need. And I gave up the bottle well a few years ago. Sobriety's been good to me, but sometimes I still get unwound. The Central Texas rain is the strongest drink around. Stop in Luling for some barbecue and hit that Buckets right outside San Antonio. From there I'll head just a bit northwest. Gotta go see if my Uncle Kevin's home. They've got a place out there in Fredericksburg, and it sure doesn't warm my soul. The only plan on my itinerary to let all the BS go. Texas Hell Country, it's the only drug I need. And I gave up the bottle well a few years ago. Sobriety's been good to me, but sometimes I still get unwound. The Central Texas rain is the strongest drink around. Where I first got clean, I say hello to some of my friends. I might stop by the Guadalupe Dam, jump in that river for a little cleanse. I can't forget about Luke and Bob. I packed my guitar this time. The bigger circle starts right at 3, and playing with them guys gets me high. The Texas Hell Country, the only drug I need. And I gave up the bottle well a few years ago. Sobriety's been good to me, but sometimes I still get unwound. The Central Texas rain's the strongest drink around. The Central Texas rain's the strongest drink I found.
Live from Houston, Texas, this is Big Ideas, Small Business with your hosts, Brian Gendron and Shravana Robert Schreiber. And now, the music of Max Flynn.
Starting to feel a little crazy again. I think it's time I start to pack my things. The city life has really got me down.
All right, welcome to Big Ideas, Small Business. This is a show by business owners, for business owners, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, side hustlers. We're here to help you get in business and stay in business. I'm your host, Brian Gendron, joined by Shravana Robert Schreiber. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Do you know that intro by heart, or do you read it? I know you've done it probably 1,000 times by now.
Hey, I got it memorized, man.
Oh, good. It's like a mantra.
It is. We're going to have you do it next time.
Oh, well, good. I'll be reading for sure. But yeah, we can do that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I'm super excited about our guest today. I know him through the entrepreneur organization, EO, is where I met and know Jeremy. He's a big influencer here in the Houston area. His company, Encore Search Partners, man, let me tell you, Inc. 5000 several times, HPJ, Fast 100, like, and not low ranks either. Best places to work. Got for multiple years with the HPJ, and that's just a few of the accolades that his company does. And he still finds time to spend time doing things like this with us.
Yeah,
Incredible,
so he's
right?
prime time, but he's making time to do the small time things. I love it.
That's it. And honestly, it's a lot about what we're talking today, because he's got a strong culture. He's hired a strong team that allows him to do this. So let's hear more about it as we welcome our guest, Jeremy Jenson. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on, Brian? Happy to be here, man.
Happy to have you. So how are things going in your world?
We're loving life. We're killing it, man. I'm a little scared for my leadership team. My executive VP last Friday bought a brand new house, his dream home, and a BMW M5 on the same day. And it's just like blowing my mind. I'm like, guys, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. Don't spend all your money. So maybe we need to teach some type of financial literacy here at Encore Search. You got all these recruiters making all this money. They just want to go spend it.
That's awesome. Well, that's good news then, right? Because if recruiters are spending money, that means companies are hiring people, which, I mean, here we've hired 3 people, I think, since this whole pandemic started. So I do think that there's growth that's happening for sure. So maybe give him a break. Maybe he's okay. Maybe he's planning well, and he's just enjoying the fruits of his labor. That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, he's got 4 kids and a stay-at-home wife, and you need a big house to keep all those people happy if they're going to be doing school from home, right? So
true.
Good.
Very good point. Well, it sounds like your salespeople are succeeding, and it's a lot about what that really lines into what we're talking today. So the topic we're going to cover, it's around sales leadership. It's Shravana and I are running a 6-part series on sales leadership, and you want to talk about hiring commissioned sales folks, and it's to hire to culture, not to experience or education. Tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. This was something that it probably took me a few years to figure out. You know, whenever I started the firm back in 2013, obviously it was the smart thing to do at the time to try to go out and find somebody who had a year, maybe 2 years of recruiting experience. That way they could, in theory, hit the ground running, right? And so what I was finding is, you know, we'd go out, we'd find folks who, you know, had 2, 3, 4, 5 years of experience, and they were willing to take a kind of a low base, high commission, and then they really just always panned out to be B and C players, and that's when it really hit me that, golly, instead of trying to get somebody else's kind of seconds, right? Insert that bad word, seconds. Let's go out and get A players that have never lost at anything in life. They've been the best server or the best bartender or the best retail manager or the best car salesperson, and let's give them an opportunity to go into B2B sales. And man, whenever we define that recipe for success, we've just seen these rock stars really flourish. And it's been an amazing experience to see folks and the gratitude that they have for us kind of giving them a shot. And then now seeing folks like Kelsey Roshan on our team able to buy a house and buy new cars and get married. And it's just an incredible, incredible feeling that I have seeing our producers make really good money whenever they were, you know, really just in the wrong industry, Brian.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I mean, so one of the questions I was going to ask you is, how did you decide to start Encore Search Partners? And what you said about giving people the opportunity who may be in an industry that they weren't right fit for, or a role that they weren't right fit for. And that makes the difference, right? Putting people in positions where you are giving them the tools that they need, maybe, and the encouragement they need, the training they need to actually excel, could be the difference between a person who is a low performer and someone who's your top performer. So tell me a little bit about how you first started Encore, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually accidentally started a recruiting company. So I remember when I was 24 years old, I had just gotten engaged at the time, and I'm divorced now, but you know, I had this, well, it was a long time ago, it was 12 years ago, but what I'm getting at is she was a petroleum engineer at BP, and she made more money than me, right? I was in sales working for a pipe, valve, and fitting distributor, and I just knew I wanted to make more than my fiance. So I marched into my boss's office. I said, Bob, I want 100 grand. Let me tell you why. I've made you this much money. I've saved you this much money. I'm worth it. He said, Jeremy, you're an invaluable resource to the firm. Let me talk to our CFO and get back to you. So the very next day they came back and they gave me 90 grand. They gave me a raise up from 65, which I was at the time. And I accepted it. But then 4 days later, I quit and I started my first company. And so,
wow.
Yeah. So it took a lot of guts, but you know, I had a fiance that was a 6-figure earner. So it was a pretty good cushion to fall back on if things didn't work out. Now, fortunately it did. But so I started an email marketing company called Market Share Solutions back in 2010. And we would basically do email blasts trying to sell people's products and services. And did that for about 3 years, kind of ran out of hours in the day, built it to about 300,000 in revenue. So it was a really good lifestyle business with me and kind of like an assistant, if you will, to monitor the emails and set up some marketing campaigns. But that's whenever I made the decision in 2013. I said, hey, there's got to be a better way to scale, right?
Yeah.
If you guys are in businesses where you have to be the producer, you have to be the one client facing, you have to be the one doing all of the legwork, and it's impossible to generate that downline pyramid of people to do a lot of the hustle work. You're in the wrong business, guys. I mean, there's so many industries out there where you can sell an organization and somebody else can fulfill the work.
That's
and
right.
So, and so that's whenever I decided to start Encore Search Partners back in January of 2013. And it's so funny, like my very first recruiter, you know, it was a startup, right? I think I paid him like $2,000 a month on a draw. And he was like straight commission. That first year he made 65 grand and he was like super excited about it. And it's just funny to see that here we are, fast forward 7 years later, you know, kind of the pedigree of the talent that we have. And, you know, just looking at the type of money that these folks make, and, you know, really it kind of creates that stickiness, right? That gratitude, that loyalty. And they're out there in the market waving the Encore flag. And it's a very, very exciting environment to be in.
So how did you decide? Because I know at Encore Search Partners, you have a niche. So you're not just a general recruiter. You actually recruit for executive positions. So how did you decide when you started your business that you were going to go for the executive niche versus just general recruiting? Why was that a decision?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first got started back in 2013, man, I would do anything, right? If somebody said, hey, Jeremy, I need an underwater basket weaver in Alaska, like I would figure it out.
You be the guy. Like, I could go.
Yeah. And then really just, you know, with success, you kind of get a little bit pickier, right? And so like each year we started to work on higher level positions. And it really was in 2016 when I brought in an executive VP. His name's Casey Knight. He introduced me to the wealth management industry, and we started recruiting financial advisors. And in that business, those people don't have a base salary. The way that we charge our recruiting fee is essentially a percentage of their book of business. And so when I got into that industry and I saw, holy cow, like if somebody is leaving Morgan Stanley and going to Raymond James, that company is going to pay me $100,000 to recruit that person, right? That's whenever I made the decision that, damn, like, why am I recruiting 80K people? Like, let's go recruit people that make $500,000 a year, right? And so that's whenever we really started to shift gears and change our focus and say, hey, look, we know we're studs. There's only a finite number of hours in the day. There's a finite number of calls you can make a week. You know, it takes just as many calls, you know, whenever you're calling millionaires on Wall Street in order to get a connection, as opposed to calling, you know, executive assistants in Phoenix, right? And so we just got picky. So we recruit wealth management. We're probably number 2 in the nation in that vertical. Casey would probably say he's number 1, but I just got to make sure that he's got that chip on his shoulder and he's still grinding. But then we also recruit partner level attorneys, VP level investment bankers, VP level commercial bankers, partner level CPAs. So basically the commonality is, if you bring a book of business with you whenever you change firms, it doesn't matter what Jeremy's fee is. I want the revenue. It's like almost like a merger and acquisition.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to the very beginning with what you said. So first of all, congrats on being such a leader in the financial management space. I mean, that's huge, right? You picked the niche and you guys just went all in, and it's the niche that has the most revenue opportunity. You didn't just select it out of randomness. So that's really smart. But your whole philosophy of hire to culture. You talked about poaching. Let's use poaching. People from car dealerships, waiters. I mean, that's crazy, man. And then that's worked for you. Tell me more about that. I got to know more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I try to take some of the credit, but I really got to give all the credit to my president of my company who joined us 4 years ago as VP. His name is Scott Kelly. He came into the organization. He implemented a system called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Have you ever heard of that, Brian?
Yes.
Ivana? Yeah.
I've not. What is EOS?
Yeah,
I haven't heard of it. Other people probably haven't either. So what is EOS?
Yeah, so EOS is basically a business framework that was founded on the principles created by a gentleman by the name of Gino Wickman that wrote a book called Traction. Then he's got some other books, What the Heck is EOS and Rocket Fuel. But basically, it's like a toolbox that you can bring into a small business, and it dredges all the ideas out of the executive team, and then it kind of puts pen to paper, and there's a framework that holds you accountable to it, right? And so, whenever we evaluated our talent, and we were forced to take a look at, hey, do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Hey, who's going to own the recruiting vertical on the organization chart? What are all the tools and resources that we're going to utilize? Whenever we lifted the hood and we looked at the data, that's whenever it showed that, damn, like it's not the people that have 3 years of recruiting experience where, we're just another resource that's going to allow them to be a B player, right? Let's actually use this business framework, and if we can get A players that can exceed expectations, then we know that they're going to excel in our environment. And so that's what we did. Implemented EOS, clearly defined our 6 core values. We really implemented Traction. I'm very excited because last Friday at our quarterly town hall, we got to release our Vivid Vision, which is a phrase that's utilized by a friend of mine, Cameron Harold, who's the CEO of a group called the COO Alliance. And it was really an incredible experience to see the light bulb go off in front of our 23 employees' minds whenever we're illustrating, hey, what's the organization going to look like in 7 years? And so we have the roadmap, we have the tools, we have the processes, the systems, the accountability. Really, the next level, we just need those stud A players that want to come in and grind. That way we can get there together.
So you one quick thing, you mentioned that you did basically an audit of your current team and the talent. So what did you find? Because one of the things I was wondering is you talk about hiring for culture versus just experience and education, but did you do that when you first started Encore Search Partners or not? And so you just mentioned that you did this audit. So what percentage of the people at Encore Search Partners were already the culture crew versus hey, look, some of our former employees are probably going to watch this, right? I was going to say, don't incriminate yourself, please.
Some of them are great friends still to this day, but 2 people survived. 2 people survived whenever we did kind of an implementation of the changing of the guard, right? One of them is my little brother, so he needed to fucking figure it out, right? He's our operations manager in our financial group. And then the other one is our director of marketing and technology. His name's Larry Sanders. But whenever we did that audit, we kind of had a forced turnover in order to turn over the whole organization. Did we lose Shavana?
we did. Well, she'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, man, your little baby brother just not getting it done. He's
getting it done. No, he's getting it done now. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I got you.
We turned over everybody in the organization. I mean, we're literally talking about a 90% turnover once we implemented the new processes, systems, and really the accountability was the secret. But only 2 people survived: my little brother and my director of IT. Yeah.
Oh, I misheard you. Okay, I got you. So your little brother, he made the cut. All right.
Yeah.
He made the cut, but he had to make the cut. If the dude was a scrub, I probably would have just let him work from home like Milton in Office Space, right? Like, have you seen my stapler?
You said the A word, accountability. That was the key. How were you able to create healthy accountability that you can get buy-in to in the organization?
Yeah, so I think that it starts during the interview process, right? Whenever you're over communicating what the expectations are, you're talking about the KPIs, you're talking about the company core values and how important they are to the organization. So when somebody knows right out of the gate what the expectations are, right? Hey, if I get an email from a client at 9:30 p.m., I have 5 minutes to reply to it. It's part of my job description, right? Whenever they know what the expectations are, you'd be surprised at how many people really want to adhere to kind of like the defined framework, right? We all want structure. We all want structure. I think one of the things that organizations are missing whenever they have that structure is the people that actually genuinely give a fuck about the employees. And then they just make it all about the structure. Like, we get it, dude. Like, you're having a bad day. You got in a fight with your husband. Your dog passed away. We know that there are things that happen outside of the office that influence kind of like your morale and your demeanor inside of these four walls. And so I would say kind of like our differentiators to turn those people that are maybe in those ruts back into stud A players that are killing it is the fact that our president, Scott Kelly, does not run a book of business. He doesn't have any client relationships. He doesn't do any recruiting. His whole existence is to just be kind of like that confidant, that cheerleader, that motivator, that coach for all of our employees. And so if I can increase profitability and productivity by 25% of 23 employees, just through the element of compounding, we grow 300%.
So just a quick question. So since you instituted the EOS framework, and one of our viewers said that they do that too. So now I'm going to go look it up and ask our creative team, beware, because maybe we'll be doing that. What's been your most successful hire to date? And your little brother doesn't count because he just doesn't count. So who's been, like, if you were to say this was the model hire for culture person and it turned out great? And what are some of the attributes?
Yeah, so this is gonna be embarrassing to admit because I own a recruiting firm where you pay me to find people that's doing the same job at the company across the street, right? But I would say that the best hires are people with no recruiting experience. Okay, you're in some type of client-facing role, right, where you're interacting with individuals. I tend to like to hire people that don't have college degrees. I think they have a little bit more grit, maybe fire in the belly where they've got something to prove. And then there's probably maybe a bigger element of loyalty whenever they start to make money because you're the one that kind of gave them a shot and got them into the business, right? But, we've got, mattress sales reps, like I said, bartenders, somebody who was a manager of Vitamin World. One of our most recent hires, the dude's killing it from a KPI standpoint. He has a master's degree in philosophy. He was a college professor at U of H. And whenever HCC. And whenever, we went to quarantine, he was like, man, I can teach these classes online working from home. I need to get a day job, right? And so I've got a master's degree college professor sitting here banging out 1,500 calls a week, generating 12 leads. This dude's probably going to make $250,000 in his first year. But you know why? It's the chip on his shoulder. He's a newlywed, beautiful wife. He wants to create a lifestyle for his young family that an assistant professor at HCC, that salary can't bear it. He's got something to prove. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, okay. So you hire them. It sounds like you want them hungry is what you want, right?
Hungry.
I
didn't get this big by not being hungry, Brian. All right.
You mentioned, that's right. You mentioned that they don't have college degrees. Do you help them then get educated? Is that something that you've done as a part of your growth in your employees?
Well, don't get me wrong. We've got several positions here, right? We've got people that are candidate side recruiters. We've got people that are account executives that develop relationships with the clients. And there requires a bigger element of business acumen and knowledge of focus industries. So we have some 4.0 GPAs collegiate Division I athletes that are in certain roles. We've got the kind of the people with the hunger that are scrappy, that are grinders, right? Kind of the normality is they're all six-figure earners, right? I mean, it's not an environment where we depress these people and these people are the ones making all the money. But, as far as an education, the way that we educate our employees is by educating them on all of the technical components within the business unit that they work in, right? And so if Kirsten, who we found her 6 months out of graduating from Texas Tech, she was a front of the house manager at the Bowl and Barrel in City Center. We plugged her, but her mom is an attorney. Her fiance is an attorney. So naturally, I'm going to put her in an environment where she recruits attorneys, right? It's something that she has a passion for. It's something that she has a thirst for knowledge for. And even though I can only train her for 40 hours a week inside these four walls, when she's sitting at the dinner table with her fiance or she's on vacation with her mom, she's consuming knowledge about law firms. And so we try to hire people, put them in the right spot that have that thirst for knowledge. But again, it doesn't necessarily equate to a bachelor's degree, if that makes sense.
Well, and what's interesting is I think right now in this environment, and I know you probably know this better than the two of us because you work in recruiting, there is a lot of talent on the market right now because the pandemic started, people got laid off or decided that they wanted to do something different or their job changed, like the professor, where they had more flexibility. So I think the mindset of not just looking at, okay, you have a degree in marketing, you have worked at a marketing firm or in a marketing division, but thinking about the person, what do they have a thirst for knowledge for? I love that term because then you can right fit them and you can see all sorts of productive fruit, probably in some pretty uncommon areas, just because you're paying attention. To me, that sounds like really paying attention and not just saying, okay, job rec, person over here with degree, match, move on. I think that's huge. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners or people in business in general could probably learn a lot from, is that if you have to pay attention and really be looking for those that are interested, have a thirst for knowledge, and what skills can be transferable from Bowl and Barrel, which I've never been to, but sounds like a bowling place where you can probably drink beer.
There you go.
Yeah. So see, that's good marketing because I know what it is. I've never been there. Transition into recruiting, customer facing. Okay, customer delight is important there. It's important at your firm. That's a transferable skill, and that probably also gives people a little bit of confidence too. So if I'm a server or I work in a completely non-professional type of an industry, to even have an interview with a firm in a professional setting, if that's something I want to do, and like you said, have a person look me in the eye and say, we're going to give you this opportunity, that instills an incredible sense of loyalty and confidence. So it's no wonder your team is performing so well because you're building their confidence, sounds like, from day one.
Are we recording this? Can I just make this our commercial right here?
I'm a marketer, right? I mean, hey,
that was incredible.
Yeah, well, because that's what it is. I mean, that's what you're doing. That's awesome. So what would you recommend, Jeremy? So you think about, so if we have listeners that are saying, okay, I look around my organization and it looks much like yours did before you implemented EOS, and that they have a lot of folks that were experienced or educational type of hires. And they want to build an organization that's more a hire to culture type of organization. And they are where they are. So what things could they do? What tips would you give to help people transition to have a more robust, productive organization following your model?
Absolutely. So I just want to make one thing very, very clear. I'm talking about you hired a culture. And again, you should hire a culture in general, but we go out and get these people outside of our industry for entry-level roles. Okay. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like, if I need a manager, if I need a director, something to that effect, obviously I want to go out and get a rock star from my competitor. But if I'm willing to build a team around someone, maybe I have a little bit more of an appetite to pay that person a six-figure salary in order to solicit them over, right? But I think the first thing that you should do is define your core values, right? And then that's kind of a derivative of implementing EOS. So our core values, let me grab this little mouse pad right here. So they're everywhere. They're on all the walls in the common areas. They're on all of our screensavers. Our employees are hammered with this, all the way from even, the interview process, all the phone screens and in-person things that we do, onboarding them on day one. Our president, you know, through all the coaching, through all the professional development conversations, it's always discussed the core values. So ours are, number one, excellence. Anything you do, right? Try your fucking best. Be excellent at it. If you can't do it excellently, pass it off to your teammate that can execute, right? And so one of the derivatives that we have of that is if we know that we're not the best resource in order to do it, we'll recommend you to someone who specializes in that vertical, right? And so excellence. Number two, responsive. Number three, grateful. You'd be surprised at how many people I've fucking fired that made $200,000-$300,000 a year even, just because they were walking around puffy chest, being rude to all their coworkers, demanding things, and they were ungrateful, man. We want to promote a culture of gratitude, and that starts at the top. You know, hopefully, you know, all of my employees know exactly where I stand. I'm a very emotional leader, right? I 100% lead with my heart, and I don't try to keep any secrets from anybody, right? I mean, we have a badass quarter. People know it. We publish the P&L, right? We brag about where we're at. And I'm extremely grateful for not only my entire team, but my two key executives that have helped us get there. Number four, coachability. Very, very important, right? If you want to be here and you have the capacity to be here, we're going to make sure that you 100% get everything that you need to be getting, right? And so you have to be coachable. Number five, meticulous. Our average fee, you're going to vomit, Brian. Our average fee is $47,500. Okay. And so if we're charging,
you better not vomit.
if we're charging, well, he's just selling IT services. He's like, fuck. Yeah, get into recruiting. Yeah,
he's gonna go work for you. So hey, make your own mouse pad. Make your mouse pad and go and work for Jeremy.
15 points, 15 net, man. It's not pretty over here.
Oh, come on. Well, 15 net of 100 million is pretty damn good. So let's just focus on growing.
Right. Top line. That's right.
But meticulous. You know, we charge premium fees for the service that we provide, and so you better believe that we're crossing T's and dotting I's, and we've got you know, the English majors and the creative writing folks that are, you know, helping coach through, you know, all of the internal and external communications with clients, right? And then the last core value, it really is the one that kind of just keeps the shit moving, but it's competitive. You got to be competitive. It doesn't matter if you work straight commission or if you are a salaried, you know, marketing coordinator. Mm-hmm. We want to win every deal. We hate to lose. And, you know, it's funny because when I look at myself and my president, Scott Kelly, you know, don't get me wrong, we do very well for ourselves, but we're not in this business to make money. Scott, he wants to be the best. He wakes up every day, he says, I want to be the best recruiting firm in Houston. And then now that we were recognized as the largest privately held executive search firm in Houston, he says, I want to be the best in Texas, right? Next, we want to be the best in the nation. That's literally his mission. It starts with the people, right? For me, I want to win. So when you mix those two, right? Whenever you say, golly, the president wants to be the best and the CEO wants to win, what's a byproduct of that, guys? Fucking making money. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Awesome. It's unbelievable.
Brian, so two things. Brian is going to come and work for you potentially. If you want to be competitive, you can outsource your marketing. SNR Creative is happy to take that work. We can definitely help you create some beautiful marketing platforms and programs. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like, you know, when we read all these books, and I know Brian and I read a lot of the same things, and we talk about this. It sounds like it's no secret sauce. You're just executing. So you're talking about focusing on people. You're talking about understanding your own culture and having it clearly defined and then amplified and published. You talked about not keeping secrets. So that's clear, concise communication with your team and being competitive, which if you're in business and you're going to stay in business, you have to be. You know, I would argue, Brian, that these are things that pick a book, right? I mean, you see some of the books so much, pick a book about business and they all say the same things. Jeremy, I think what's the difference and what I'm learning as I get to know you through this interview, the difference is execution. So you've taken all those things that we read about and that you've learned and seen and and you execute against them. So I think, Brian, that's what I'm thinking. It's we do these podcasts. We don't do it for the money, that's for sure. We do it because we want to help entrepreneurs understand that there's no secret that someone hasn't told you. It's about execution. It's read, get the knowledge, execute.
I think he did let us in on a secret, and you said it, by the way. Get in business and stay in business. That's what we're here to do. But the secret is once you're at the right level, and you have to be at the right level. You have to be at the right size. You have to have at least a handful of employees. Am I right, Jeremy? To really look at EOS. But you can read the book from Traction and figure out what it will take to get to that level before you're ready. And then they have implementers that come in and work with you. So, I mean, to me, he showed his cards a little bit. That is the secret, but it doesn't replace the hard work.
Yeah, I say this all the time. We all know how to hit a home run. Like, we know the mechanic. Yeah. But probably neither of us. Well, I know not me and not you, Brian. Jeremy, maybe you can. We can't go out to the park and hit a home run. Right?
I've seen Brian on Instagram with his shirt off. That guy, that guy can hit a home run.
Yeah, he can yoga, but maybe he can hit. Maybe that's transferable if he can hit a home run. But the point is, I think that. I feel like luckily a lot of the things are things that I've heard, and I know we've talked about, and it's comforting actually to know that it is, it's possible, right? It's possible for our organizations. Brian, I love what you said. Even if you're at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey and you're not to the level where EOS makes sense, you can vision cast, you can read, you can get the framework, you can, have it down. So when you do get to that level, you're able to execute. So I think it's great.
And don't get me wrong, it takes a lot of humility in order to do it successfully. I wouldn't be able to execute EOS myself. I'm way too ADD. I've grown the business to about 1.5 million. I was making $500,000 a year. I kind of got a little fat and happy. It really took me bringing in that EOS integrator, my chief operating officer, who's now my president. It took me hiring him and putting him on the right comp model to say, hey, let's grow this thing. I want you to make $1 million, right? Yeah. It's not just about the owner making $1 million. It's about rewarding the people who are going to help you get there, right? And so, that's what I try to do at Encore Search. I try to hire the right leaders of each individual business unit. We bring in that kind of scrappy entry-level talent, right? The people that have the focus, the discipline, the ones that are self-accountable. And it's kind of like that recipe for success. When you have the right framework, you have the right leaders, and you have the right people that are executing the tactical components of the strategy. It's only a matter of time before we're a 100-person firm, And with EOS, we know that time frame is 9 years. It's literally that calculable.
Well, listen, we could do this all day, and I know you'd love to, because it's the stuff that you love to do, Jeremy. We'll have to have you back on for a part 2 at some point, but really sage advice today. Thank you for sharing your core values. I think there was some things we could get into maybe on KPIs was another major thing that you'd mentioned. So again, part 2 down the road, but thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and put Encore Search Partners here. There's a link, EncoreSearchPartners.com. Anything else you want to share as far as how they can find you, how they can find your company?
Yeah, the best place to message me is always on LinkedIn. I spend a good part of my day messing around on there, not necessarily looking for clients, but always looking for aggressive entry-level talent that wants to come in and make money. But yeah, track me down, Jeremy Jenson. I have a little goat emoji next to my name.
Because you're the greatest of all time, right? I should have worn my goat shirt. I have a goat shirt. See, I'm tracking with you, Jeremy. See, messaging, marketing.
We're on the same page. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming. Thank you all for joining us. Now get your asses out there and close some business.
Execute.
Central Texas rain's the strongest drink I found.
Thank you for listening to Big Ideas Small Business. Follow us at BISB Media and visit our website at www.bisbmedia.com.